Good morning, my dear students. Once again, we are here with the new topic after sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. That is the mode of reproduction most commonly found in the angiosperm plants, and we shall be starting this chapter by studying about the structure of the flower, because flower is the highly modified shoot meant essentially for the sexual reproduction in the plants. Different parts of the flowers are best understood by referring to the structure of a typical flower. What I mean to say by typical flower? A typical flower is a generalized flower which possesses all the essential parts, that is stamens, carpels, calyx and corolla. A flower is born on the lateral side of the peduncle at a node in the axil of the leaf-like structure called the bract. A bract is a protecting part, and if sometimes the flower do not possess the bract, it is called as the ebracteate flower, and the structure on which the flower is born, it is called as the peduncle, and if peduncle is absent, the flower is called as the sessile. Peduncle or the pedicel. The pedicel, if it is present, it is called the pedicellate flower. If it is not present, it is called as the sessile flower. Now, the pedicel has the upper swollen portion called as the thalamus or the receptacle. As you can see here, it has the upper swollen portion which is called as the thalamus or the torus. It is also called the receptacle as labeled here. Thalamus is considered as an axil of the flower. It bears 4 types of the floral leaves arranged in the successive whorls. The first is the sepals, the green coloring portion, this is the sepal, which is a green coloring portion. This is protective in function and always green. Then is the then second is the corolla, which is made up of the colored units called as the petals, whose function is the attraction, and then are the carpels and the stamens. The stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower, which consists of the anther lobes and the filament. Carpel is the female reproductive part of the flower, which consists of the stigma, style and the ovary. So this is the unit of the sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. Now we shall be talking about some interesting facts about the angiosperms. I must tell you that the smallest flower among the angiosperm is of the Wolffia microscopia, whereas the largest flower is that of the Rafflesia. Our national flower is the lotus, whose botanical name is the Nelumbium. Now there is a term monoecious. The term monoecious is given to a plant which has both male and female flowers on the same plant. That is, the flowers are not bisexual, they are unisexual, but the male and female flowers, they are both present on the same plant. On the other hand, if male and female flowers are present on the different plants, then it is called as the dioecious. And the third is, flower is called as the hermaphrodite or the perfect flower if all the essential parts are, that is both the sex organs, the stamen and the carpel, are present in the same flower. It is called as the hermaphrodite. Now we shall be talking about the sexual reproduction which completes the life cycle of the angiosperms. And I must tell you that the life cycle of the angiosperms gets completed in 3 phases. Actually, it is a continuous process, but for our better understanding, we have classified into 3 types: the pre-fertilization events, fertilization events and the post-fertilization events. We shall be talking about these events one by one. Let us start with the pre-fertilization events. Dear students, the pre-fertilization events in the angiosperms, it is dealt under the three headings: microsporogenesis, megasporogenesis, and the pollination. Once these three events are completed, the flower has come to a stage of the fertilization. Now, so far as the microsporogenesis is concerned, it is the formation and development of the pollen grain. That is, actually it deals with the development of the male gametophyte. Microsporogenesis deals with the development of the pistil and the development of the female gametophyte, and pollination is the transfer of the pollen grain from stigma to the style. Let us start with the microsporogenesis. The microsporogenesis starts from the stamen. As you can see in the figure, stamen in a flower consists of two parts: the long narrow stalk called the filament and upper knob-like structure called the anther. The proximal end of the filament is attached to the thalamus or the petal of the flower. The number and length of the stamens vary in different species. A normal bithecous or dithecous anther is made up of two lobes, which are connected by a strip of sterile part called as the connective, as you can see here. Now I am showing you the structure of the microsporangium. Young anther, while it is still attached in the flower, the TS reveals the presence of the outer wall or the epidermis. As you can see in this figure, the outermost part is the epidermis. Then is the epidermis, which covers it from the outer side. The outermost wall lying just below the epidermis is called as the endothecium or the fibrous layer, because the wall, two radical and inner, develops fibrous thickenings on them except at the junction of the two pollen sacs. Below the endothecium, there are 1 to 3 middle layers of the parenchyma cells. The cells of the innermost layer are radially elongated and rich in protoplasmic contents. This layer is called as the tapetum layer. The tapetum forms the nutritive tissue nourishing the young angiosperms. The cell of tapetum may be multinucleate or may have large polyploid nucleus. You can well understand with this figure. Here I am showing you the structure of the single microsporangium, and here is the cut open portion of the two-lobed angiosperms, which ultimately becomes the four-lobed inside. The tapetum cells provides nourishment. The pollen sac walls enclose number of archosporial. Here you can see these are the archosporial cells that further form the microspore mother cells, the microsporocytes. In the beginning, the microspore mother cells are polygonal and closely packed, but as the anther enlarges, the pollen sacs become spacious and gets loosely arranged. A few microspore mother cell may become non-functional and finally absorbed by the developing microspores. Now I will tell you what happens further. This is here in this figure. You can see the microsporogenesis. During microsporogenesis, the nucleus of each microspore mother cell undergoes meiosis and gives rise to 4 haploid nuclei, the microspore tetrad. These 4 nuclei are arranged in the tetrahedral manner, forming the tetrahedral tetrad. The 4 microspores separate from each other and each develop a characteristic shape or form which differs in different species of the plant. Now next you can see, once the microspore gets developed, which is called as the pollen grain, a typical pollen grain, it looks like this, As already discussed, pollen grain develop from the diploid microspore mother cells in pollen sacs of the anther. Typically, a pollen grain is haploid, unicellular body with a single nucleus. Pollen grains are generally spherical, but the shape may vary, measuring about 25 to 30 micrometers in diameter. The outer surface of the microspore may have spines, ridges, furrows, which may vary in other ways in different species. They may be oval, they may be ellipsoidal, triangular, lobed, or even crescent shaped pollen grains. The cytoplasm is surrounded by two layered walls. The outer is called the axine. It is thick and sculptured or smooth. It is cuticularized, and the cutin is of special type, and that is called as the sporopollenin, which is resistant to chemical and biological decomposition. In insect pollinated pollen grains, the axine is covered by a yellowish, viscous and sticky substance which is called the pollen kit. Pollen grains are well preserved as fossils, and the branch of however, this is not concerned here, but still I will tell you that the branch of biology which deals with the study of the pollen grains is called as the pollinology. Now, when we talk about the development of the pollen grain, it however proceeds like this, as you can see in the figure. The development starts even when the microspore is still attached to the pollen sac or is in the microsporangium. Then it is called as a precocious germination. Microspores undergo two mitotic division. The first mitotic division leads to the formation of the vegetative cell and the generative cell. Vegetative cell is also called as the tube cell. The vegetative cell is bigger, has abundant food reserves and large irregular shaped nucleus. These cells do not possess any cell wall, hence represented by the two cell membranes. A temporary callous wall is laid down between the two cells. Callous wall separates between the generative cell and the intine to finally pinch it off.